So, hi, in this session we'll be discussing about protoplast culture. In the previous session, part 1, we had discussed what is protoplast, what are the sources for isolating protoplast, and also we had discussed about the detailed protocol for isolating protoplast from mesophyll of leaf. In this session, we are going to see what is the protocol for isolating protoplast from cell suspension culture. Then we are going to see what are the different methods for culturing protoplast, and also we will be discussing about the importance of protoplast culture. So first, let's discuss the technique for isolation of protoplast from cell suspension culture. So as already mentioned, for indirect sources, the most suitable material for protoplast isolation is cell suspension culture, and the age of cell suspensions which are used for isolating protoplast is an important factor which determines the yield. A new suspension culture does not yield many protoplasts. It has to be subcultured once or twice, then only they will start yielding protoplasts. Likewise, older suspension culture also have a tendency to form elongated cells with thick wall. So it's difficult to isolate protoplasts from such cultures. So the age of cell suspension culture which is used for harvesting protoplast is a very important factor. Young culture also doesn't provide much protoplast, and older suspension culture tend to have cells which are having thicker walls, from which isolation of protoplast is difficult. And so the most suitable phase for isolating or harvesting cells from cell suspension culture for isolating protoplast is the early exponential growth phase or the early log phase. So we should harvest cells from cell suspension culture during the early exponential growth phase or early log phase for isolating protoplast. And also the cell suspension culture should not contain cell aggregates. Presence of large number of cell aggregates is not suitable for isolation of protoplast. So not only the age of the cell suspension culture, but also the type of cells, whether single cells or cell aggregates are present, that also determine the yield of protoplast. That is, if the cell suspension culture has large number of cell aggregates, then it will not be suitable for isolating protoplast. And so to prevent the formation of cell aggregates, usually we can add colchicine or some other chelating chemicals in the suspension culture to prevent the formation of cell aggregates. And even we can add enzyme cellulase at 0.1% concentration, so that thick wall is formed. So by modifying the medium in which the cell suspension culture, we can prevent formation of cell aggregates and also prevent formation of thick walls. So preventing the formation of cell aggregates, we can add colchicine or chelating chemicals to the medium, and to prevent the formation of thick walls, we can add enzymes like cellulase to the medium. So the isolation of protoplast from cell suspension culture has 5 steps. The 5 steps are: first one is filtration of cell suspension, second one is preparation of liquid medium free cell for plasmolysis, third step is pre-plasmolysis, fourth step is enzyme incubation, and fifth, the last step is washing and purification. So first is filtration, next step is that removing the liquid medium completely from the cells and preparing them for plasmolysis. Third step is pre-plasmolysis, fourth is enzyme incubation, and last one is washing and purification. So Let's discuss the different steps in detail. So first step is filtration of cell suspension. So usually we are harvesting the cells at early log or exponential growth phase, and the harvested cells are first passed through a coarse nylon sieve so that very large clumps are removed, and the filtrate only contains single cells or small cell clumps. So first step is filtration, and we are filtering using a coarse nylon sieve, and we are filtering to remove the large aggregates so that our filtrate contains only single cells or small cell clumps. Second step is preparation of liquid media free cells for plasmolysis. So after filtration, from the filtrate we are letting it to the cells to settle on the medium. So after filtration we are letting the filtrate sit for some time so that the cells settle out of the medium, and then the medium is decanted off and the cells are transferred to a flask. The medium is removed and the cells are transferred to a flask, and then again using a pipette, pasture pipette, we are making sure that the culture medium is completely removed. So second step is preparation of liquid media free cells for plasmolysis. In this step we are completely removing the liquid media from the cells. Next step is pre-plasmolysis. Here in this step the cells are suspended in CPW13M solution. As we already know, CPW13M stands for cell and protoplast washing medium containing 13% mannitol, and we are suspending the cell in this for 1 hour. So this mannitol is an inert sugar and it leads to plasmolysis of the cells, and it acts as a plasmolyticum or osmoticum, and it prevents the breaking of the protoplasm when the cell wall is removed. So we are suspending the cells in CPW13M for 1 hour, and after 1 hour the plasmolyticum, that is CPW13M, is pipetted off. Next step is enzyme incubation. So we are adding the enzyme solution to the cells, and the flask containing the cells and enzyme solution are placed on a platform on a rotating shaker, and the shaker is set at 30 to 40 rpm, and the time period for which we are incubating the enzyme should be standardized. It depends on the species and also the concentration of enzymes, etc. So the time period should be standardized. And last step is washing and purification. So the protoplast suspension, after incubating with the enzyme, we are filtering it again through a sieve which has a size of 60 to 100 new pore size. So we are filtering the protoplast suspension through a 60 to 100 new stainless steel sieve to remove the large debris. Then for isolating the protoplast we have to do centrifugation. So first we are centrifuging at 80 G speed for 5 to 10 minutes. So first we are centrifuging it in CPW13M medium. So we are centrifuging at 80 G for 5 to 10 minutes. And as we already know, in the CPW13M medium, the protoplast will pellet or sediment, and then we can pipette off the supernatant. Next step is that we are resuspending these pellet in CPW21S solution. CPW21S stand for cell and protoplast washing medium containing 21% sucrose. So we already know that in CPW21S solution, the protoplast after centrifugation will be seen on top of the solution as a dark green band. So we are resuspending it in CPW21S solution, and then again we are spinning it at 100 G for 5 minutes. So viable and debris-free protoplasts are collected at the surface. After that, we are collecting the protoplast, and then it is washed with CPW13M by repeated centrifugation. We are washing it with a CPW13M to remove any traces of sucrose present in it, and finally the protoplasts are resuspended in measured volume of liquid culture medium, and we can measure the yield of protoplasts using hemocytometer. So this is the protocol for isolating protoplasts from a cell suspension culture. The last steps are somewhat, the centrifugation step is similar to that of protocol for isolating protoplasts from leaf mesophyll, except there are some changes in the speed of centrifugation. So here 5 steps are there for isolating protoplasts from cell suspension culture. First one is filtration to remove the large particles. Next one is preparation of liquid media free cells for plasmolysis, that is we are completely removing the medium. Third one is pre-plasmolysis. For that we are incubating in 13 mCPW solution for 1 hour. Then we are incubating with enzyme, and time for incubation depends upon species. And last one is washing and purification. So we are centrifuging it in different solution like CPW13M, CPW21S, and finally CPW13M, and we are isolating the protoplast. Now next is the various method in which protoplasts can be cultured. So we are going to see how we can culture the isolated protoplast. So the most commonly used method for culturing protoplast is the agar embedding technique. That is, we are embedding the protoplast onto agar medium. This is the agar embedding technique is the most commonly followed technique. In this technique, we are mixing equal quantity of protoplast suspension and melted 1% DIFCO agarified medium. So in this method, we are mixing equal volume of protoplast suspension and 1.6% DIFCO agarified medium, and then this mixture is poured into a small petri dish, and in that petri dish embedding of protoplast and in solid agar medium take place. This is known as plating of protoplast. So this is agar embedding technique, and this is the most commonly followed technique, and there are certain advantages for agar embedding technique. The advantages for agar embedding technique is that it can be handled very easily. Then the medium, agar medium provide good support for the protoplast, and it is very easy to study the in situ developmental stages of the embedded protoplast under a compound microscope. So this agar embedding technique has many advantages, and the advantages are very easy handling, good support for the protoplast is provided by the agar, and also we can study the in situ developmental changes of the protoplast under a compound microscope. Let us look at the detailed protocol of agar embedding technique. So this is the detailed protocol for agar embedding technique. For this technique, usually we are taking protoplast which has been suspended in liquid Nagata and Tabeki medium. So protoplast which has been suspended in liquid Nagata and Tabeki medium is used And the protoplast density of the medium which we are taking for agar embedding should be 1 into 10 raised to 5 to 2 into 10 raised to 5 protoplasts per ml. So we are taking protoplasts from liquid NT medium which has a protoplast density of 1 into 10 raised to 5 to 2 into 10 raised to 5. Next step is that the agar solidified NT medium is melted. We are taking, first we are taking protoplast, second we are taking a nutrient medium, that is agar solidified Nagata and Tabeki nutrient medium is melted. After that we are taking a petri dish and we are opening the lid of the petri dish and we are adding 1.5 ml of the protoplast suspension. So to that medium we are adding to that petri dish we are adding 1.5 ml of the protoplast suspension, and also we are adding 1.5 ml of melted agar. When we are adding this melted agar, we should take care that the agar has cooled down to a temperature of 37 to 40 degrees Celsius. Otherwise it can lead to this protoplast being destroyed. So first we are taking protoplast, second we are taking melted agar medium. In third step we are mixing equal volume of protoplast and this melted agar, and while mixing we should make sure that the melted agar has cooled to a temperature of 37 to 40 degrees Celsius. After that the lid of the petri dish is replaced and the whole dish is whirled gently to disperse the protoplast agar medium uniformly throughout the dish. So after closing the lid we are just swirling it gently so that the agar and protoplast medium is uniformly distributed or dispersed in the dish, and then the medium is allowed to solidify and the petri dish is then inverted, and the incubation is done at 25 degrees Celsius with 500 lux illumination. And these cultures are subcultured periodically in the same solid medium, gradually reducing the mannitol. So this is the detailed protocol for agar embedding technique. So we can see the protoplast suspended in the solidified agar medium in this agar embedding technique, and there are many advantages for this technique. Next method for culturing protoplast is a droplet culture. So droplet culture, we are using a liquid medium and we are suspending protoplast in liquid medium, and this liquid medium has been placed on a petri dish in the form of droplets with the help of micro pipette. So in droplet culture we are suspending protoplasts in liquid medium which are placed on petri dish in the form of droplet with the help of micro pipette. So in a petri dish we are adding droplets of liquid medium, and in these droplets protoplast is suspended. So this method enables the subsequent microscopic examination of protoplast development, and also in this method the cultured protoplasts tend to clump together at the center of the droplet. So second method in droplet culture, we are doing it in liquid medium, and we are onto a petri dish we are adding droplets of liquid medium in which protoplast has been suspended. So here also we can study the protoplast under a microscope for checking its development. Next method is co-culture. As the name suggests, in co-culture, we are culturing two types of protoplasts together. That is, usually we are culturing a fast-growing protoplast with a less fast-growing or slow-growing protoplast. So co-culturing means we are culturing two different protoplasts together, and usually we are taking a fast-growing protoplast and a slow-growing protoplast. So what is the advantage of co-culturing is that this fast-growing protoplast may be producing some metabolites or substances which induces the slow-growing protoplast also to grow fast. So these chemicals or substances produced by this fast growing protoplast induces rapid growth of slow growing protoplast, and these mixed protoplasts are plated in solid medium as described earlier. And the advantage is that the fast growing protoplast provides some growth factors which induces the growth and development of desired protoplasts, and this is known as co-culture technique. And next we are going to discuss feeder layer technique. This is an example or a subdivision of the co-culture technique. So in feeder layer technique also we have two types of protoplasts. That is, first one is a fast growing protoplast which has been mitotically blocked using an X-ray treatment. So first group of protoplasts we are taking is fast growing protoplast, and for the time being they have been mitotically blocked using X-ray treatment. And first we are onto an agar medium. We are adding this fast growing protoplast onto melted agar medium, and we are pouring this into a petri dish so that a lower layer is formed which consists of the irradiated fast growing protoplast. Next, on this thin solidified layer of irradiated protoplast, we are again adding the desirable protoplast is plated at low density with agar medium. So bottom layer consists of solid agar medium with fast growing protoplast which has been mitotically blocked, and on top of that we are adding another medium which is containing the slow growing protoplast. So the slow growing protoplast along with the melted agar medium is poured on top of this layer. So as a result we get a petri dish which consists of two layers of protoplast. That means a lower layer of irradiated protoplast and an upper layer of slow growing protoplast. That is, a petri dish containing one represent the irradiated protoplast and two represents the slow growing protoplast. So as a result we get two agar layer containing irradiated protoplast in lower layer and the desired protoplast in upper layer, and this lower irradiated protoplast is known as feeder layer, and this feeder layer improves the growth and development of normal protoplast even at low density. So in the second layer we are adding protoplast at low density. So this lower feeder layer 1 provides or improves the growth and development of normal protoplast even at low density. This is feeder layer technique. Next is hanging droplet method. This is similar to droplet culture. In this method, the protoplasts are culture of protoplasts in an inverted liquid droplet is known as hanging droplet method. In the previous method or droplet culture, we had placed the liquid droplets in the lower lid of protoplast, whereas in hanging droplet method we are placing the liquid droplet on the upper lid of the petri dish, so that each droplet contains very small group of protoplasts and a number of droplets are placed on the inner surface of the lid of the petri dish, and on the lower lid of petri dish we can add a thin layer of water, and this thin layer of water usually provides an humid condition as well as prevent desiccation of the droplet. So hanging droplet method, in an inverted liquid droplet we are culturing protoplasts. For inverting the liquid droplet, we are adding the liquid droplet onto the upper lid of the petri dish, and on the lower lid we can add a layer of water so that it will provide a humid condition and also it will prevent desiccation of the droplets. This is hanging droplet method. And next one is bead culture. In bead culture, usually the protoplast suspension is mixed with polymers like alginate, carrageenan, as well as melted standard DIFCO agar. And after mixing this protoplast with alginate, carrageenan or DIFCO agar, small beads are made by dropping these liquid mixture into liquid medium. So small beads are made by dropping the mixture into liquid medium, and these beads in liquid medium are put on moving shaker. So this can be similar in structure to an artificial seed. That means in center part we will have the embryo and surrounding it there will be a jelly structure. Similarly, here also center part there will be the protoplast, and surrounding that there will be a jelly material made of alginate, carrageenan or DIFCO agar, and these beads are suspended onto a liquid medium and they are kept in a moving shaker. So this entrapment of protoplast also has several advantages over static liquid culture. That is, this bead culture technique improves the mechanical stability, aeration and viability with biochemical activity. So it has several advantages over static liquid culture. That is, it increases the mechanical stability, aeration and viability with biochemical activity. So these are the different methods in which we can culture the protoplast, that is droplet culture, co-culture, feeder layer technique, agar entrapment and bead culture. Next are the importance of protoplast culture. So protoplast culture can be used to study the osmotic behavior, study the IA action. Then it can be used for studying about plasma lemma. It can be used for studying cell wall formation, study morphogenesis, and for organelle isolation, virus update and replication, studying about photosynthesis, then for isolation of bacterioids from nodule. The protoplast culture can also be used for genetic engineering or gene transfer in plants. It can be used for inducing mutation and genetic variability. It can be used for microorganism transplantation. It can be used for implantation of chloroplast, transplantation of nucleus in chromosome, and also it can be used for somatic hybridization. Thank you.